Avatar Meherbaba ki Jai. We shall begin with the prayers. You can do the prayers at your end. All mics are muted. Welcome everybody on our Facebook family and on YouTube to our online Meherbaba Satsang, Beads from East West.
Jai Baba. O Parvardigar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible and none can see you, but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all-merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Avramazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Izad, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most specially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most specially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more and more and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meherbaba ki Jai.
Welcome everyone once again to our Beads from East West Satsang. Thank you so much for joining in. And I will just quickly share a very short and crisp intro of our loving Baba lover, Angela, who is there with us. Angela.
Hi, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, that's Angela for all of us. Angela is the president of the Circle of Friends Myrtle Beach and is today here to share with us her story and all the wonderful work that she is doing in Baba's cause and love, bringing so many of us together with over almost 30 Zoom meetings a week. She's doing more phenomenal job as well around that. So I will leave it to Angela to share her stories with us today. And then we will move into our singing in his praise and glory after Angela's sharing. So Angela, welcome once again. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Baba. Do you mind making me a co-host so I can share?
Yes.
So I'm definitely, I'm the kind of person that, yes, I'm very outgoing, but when you're talking about me, I'm very shy. So being in this position to speak today, it's an interesting dilemma. I feel there's a lot to share, but at the same time, please don't look at me. Go look somewhere else. So I thought to help myself out a little bit, I'd set the tone with a song first. This is a Jim Meyer. If you know it, feel free to sing along. Oh, there we go. Om Namo Namo meherbaba. 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 Om Namo Lord of love, I sing your holy name, Lord of love. I burn within your flame, Lord of love. You play the perfect game, Lord of love. Life journey's goal and aim, Lord of love. God's glory you attain, Lord of love, Lord of love. Om Namo Namo meherbaba. 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 Namo Om Namo King of kings, you came to set us free, King of kings. You came to make us see, King of kings. Piercing duality, King of kings. You heard our heartfelt pleas, King of kings. slave of love. Answer to all hearts' calls, slave of love. You are our all in all, slave of love. For those who rise or fall, slave of love. For lovers great and small, slave of love. Our hearts your shrine install, slave of love. Slave of love. Om Namo, Namo meherbaba. 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 Om Namo, Avatar, God clothed in human form, Avatar. All blessed when you were born, Avatar. Our lives to you were sworn, Avatar. Illusion you transform, Avatar. What theater you perform, Avatar. Avatar. Om Namo, Namo meherbaba. 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 Om Namo, Om Namo, Om Namo. Jai Baba. Well, that helps me. Hope it helps you too. I feel less nervous. All right, so I thought that I would just start with that because if there's anything that I say that in any way construes that I think that I'm any big deal, please remove that notion. Baba's first, and my joy has been to bring Baba lovers together. And I just wanted to spend some time together reviewing some of the ways that I've done that in my life. It's for whatever reason, my karma and my sanskaras and all of those things. It's nothing about me or glorifying me, or please just, if anything I say construes that way, please just do not believe it. It's not my intention at all. So that having been said, I thought I'd start today with talking a little bit about my Baba story, and let me do this in picture form. Sorry, I think I forgot to pull it up. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. There we go. All right, so oh yes, and the other thing I wanted to say was I apologize in advance. I only had a couple of days notice to pull this together, and so I don't have everything that I would have liked to show you in picture form, but it just is what it is. So we'll just have to make do. So to start with my Baba story, let's go way back. Oh, well, maybe not this far back. That was a joke. I know, it's not very funny. So this is when I'm 3, and I thought that I would just share some cute pictures because that'll make me less nervous too. So I did have some interesting experiences as a young person. I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya, to Chinese parents. And this is approximately the age that I first heard about Baba. This is probably a couple years before I first heard about Baba, and that's just a picture of me holding my book. It's a memoir about my life. So it's not necessarily my Baba story. Anyway, so I first heard about Baba through, so I was going to college. I was going to Yale University, and there was a group of Tai Chi practitioners that would meet, and they met on their own, and every third week or so, a visiting Tai Chi teacher would come, and he would give us extra pointers, etc. So this one individual, he was already a Baba lover from an early age. He's the nephew of someone who was at the East-West gathering. So I started to spend more time with him, and actually he became my husband and then later my ex-husband. That's a whole nother story. So I was just out of college, and I was actually still in college when I met him, but just coming out of, senior year, and a little bit questing to find answers and meaning in life and all those things. And ironically, I grew up in a household where there was no particular religion or spirituality. It was a situation where my dad believed in the goodness of humans. So that's something. And he believed in that goodness being kind of bigger than us. So so there was that. So he was very anti-religious, though. He was against any organized religion, and that was definitely important to him. So I grew up in an environment where we didn't especially talk about spirituality or spiritual ideals or anything of that sort. So when I first was interested in Tai Chi and sort of higher questions, Tai Chi is actually, it's a physical study, but the context of that physical study is that the physical movements are a kind of metaphor for spiritual principles. So as I started getting into it and I started asking more questions of this Tai Chi teacher, he would start referring to all the different things that he knew about, and then he would pull down meherbaba, and the Baba answers would just answer every question. I mean, it was like a final answer to anything that you could possibly be asking, because the way that Baba explains things, it's so definitive, so clear, and there's no intellectual fluff around it. There's no showing off, no intellectual fireworks, fancy words for the sake of impressing anyone. So you all here understand what I'm talking about. So for me, in the forward direction of my life, of the living it in a forward direction, I feel that coming to Baba was like walking into a lake that, it's just a step at a time, and next thing you know, I'm up over my head. In the reverse direction, when I look back, there are certain things that were quite sweet. I call it a trail of breadcrumbs. And Bauji used to talk about how Baba would talk about laying a trail of breadcrumbs so that birds would come along, and then he'd catch them with a net. And that's very much what it feels like in my story. When I look back, one of the things that was interesting is that my now ex-husband, he lived in Bronxville, and that was easily accessible by the Bronx River Parkway, which is the old highway that people used to travel from Westchester to get into Westchester County to get into New York City. And Baba was going up and down that road twice a day, when, one round trip every day, when he was living in Scarsdale, which is just a couple of towns away from Bronxville. So I was close to the Scarsdale house, and Baba was going up and down that road that, we lived right near. And so there's a kind of pilgrimage feel to that little piece of it. But the real kicker that got me was when I was in acupuncture school. I was looking for just a part-time job, something with a lot of flexibility. And I even remember thinking the thought that, oh my gosh, this is so hard, and I really needed to be just like so, flexible, that I can still go to school and this is impossible. And the next day there was this ad in the paper that was, he called it, my boss at that time called it a guy gal Friday. So somebody to do just about anything, hours flexible, come meet me at such and such a place, call me to set up an interview. And I remember, even though at that time I wasn't quite a Baba lover, I remember that it felt miraculous, like something Baba happened here. And even though I didn't have the language for it at the time, it just really felt like there was something that was meant to be. So I go there, and it's 33 West 67th, and this office happens to be on the top floor. And as I'm working for him, one of the things he has me do besides work for his company is also do some personal stuff on the side. And he was having me put together his family tree. And because I was working on that, I got to see his apartment, and his apartment was the first floor of that same building. I'm telling you all this because I was riding up and down that elevator, and I even got to visit one of the apartments in that building. Years later, Darwin Shaw's book comes out, As Only God Can Love. Isn't that anyway? And the big tome, the autobiography. So in it, Darwin is very generous with all the details. He tells us as much as he possibly can, and he gives addresses. And I'm reading along, and there, holy mackerel, 33 West 67 was Ivy Deuce's address. And she lived on the third floor. And this building was small and upright, and each floor was 2 stories. So the first floor apartment, which is my boss's apartment, was the ground floor plus a second floor where there was, it's a clear story. In other words, a second story could look down on the first floor from a sort of balcony edge. And I'm reading this whole experience of Baba lovers, Darwin meeting Baba at 33 West 67. And, later I had Don Stevens at our house, and he met Baba there, and Billy Eaton met Baba there, and all these stories. And I could totally picture it, because the third floor would have been exactly the same design, third floor, and then the fourth would be a clear story down to the lower level. So, it boggles my mind. Anyway, Don Stevens tells this very detailed story, and so does Billy. And I don't remember exactly what Darwin's literal experience was, but I remember Don Stevens talking about how being a man at that time, at that age, this was a very formal age. Billy Eaton would wear gloves up to here, Don Stevens remembers needing to cry, and he didn't know what to do about it when he first was coming close to Baba, so he ran upstairs, and from the upstairs there was that clear story down. I was just amazed, because I could totally picture it, because I've been in that downstairs apartment. Anyway, the other thing that's really special is, at that time, the descriptions of Baba moving around, that was 1952. He had just had his accident in Prague, Oklahoma. So his leg was in a cast, and the whole Don Stevens story, is talking about how Baba was in that cast. Anyway, I won't get into Don's story too much right now. It's described elsewhere. But he described how Baba was put into this tiny wheelchair, and it was this little Civil War wheelchair, and wheeled out into the hallway and down the elevator. And I'm also amazed because I was in that building and I understand totally why they had to use a tiny wheelchair, because the hallway in the apartment, within the apartment, once you get, the elevator goes up to each main floor, 1, 3, 5, etc. And when it stops, that little hallway into the actual apartment is tiny. So it made total sense to me once I put those two together. Anyway, it's phenomenal that this is years later, and so many Baba stories have this quality of the punchline being many years later, decades later. I mean, the story of the flower that Baba picked in 1932, telling Elizabeth to keep this flower, and it being exactly 20 years to the date that Baba has his accident. That was one of the early stories that really just gave me chills, and was one of those, Baba stories that really clicked, that kind of open your heart to him, make you think, yeah, this man is more than just a man. So that's some of my early experience coming to Baba. As we went along, some of the early meetings that I attended were Bauji's meetings, right? So that's a picture that I had taken at Meherbaba House. And then actually, yeah, so Meherbaba House, this is a picture of Darwin that I had taken at one of the, this is actually at the library, but anyway. So this is a picture of one of Bao's meetings for Meherbaba House. It wasn't actually located where we normally meet, but you get the gist. So those are some of my early experiences coming to Baba, and I was starting to, at that time, my ex was a Baba lover, but not that active in the group. And I was the one who was really interested and enthusiastic and new to Baba, and, wanted to know more and more and more. So I was egging to go to Baba meetings and to find out more. And it was just, like I say, just one step after another until water's way over my head. So I was the one that said, let's go to Myrtle Beach. So the first trip that we took together to Myrtle Beach was the same year that we got married. And so as I dug through all of my easily accessible photos, as I said, I only had 2 days to put this together. I don't have all the photos that I wish I had. Anyway, one of the things that's interesting about the Meher Center is that they discourage a lot of photography and videography. So, all of us who know the center well and visit often, it's so beautiful that we can't help but, snap a quick shot. But you'll find that the average person who, even if they've spent a lot of time at the Meher Center, you'll find that a lot of people don't have a great deal of photos of the buildings and of people inside the buildings and all that sort of thing, because it's the nature of the Meher Center that they really are encouraging less of that sort of touristic visit and much more of that spiritual retreat quality. So they really encourage a lot of silence. I'll just run through some of these photos just for the fun of it, because it's so beautiful. So this is, anyway, those who know where this is. There's a lake. There's I guess there's one main lake and another long lake that's connected to it. And I think it's only the two main lakes that they consider, but there's some smaller pools of water. This is the bridge across the lagoon. Mm-hmm. And the famous steps up. This is a very classic scene for the Meher Center. Anyway, that's also a classic image because that's the sign going into Baba's house. This is one that this is a photo I snapped on MRTC a couple of years ago. So that's the lagoon cabin where Baba met a lot of people in the 52 and 56 visits, actually 58 as well, but he would do big meetings in the barn. So one of my first visits, that was the first visit, there were people who were sitting around the refectory, and one of the things that fascinated me the most was people's Baba stories. So I totally, even though everyone personally feels that their own Baba story is no big deal or whatever, it's my story, I personally completely love when people share their Baba stories, because for me that was so important. And I think that everyone's individual coming to Baba story is so unique and individual to them. And it just shows how Baba is so much bigger than the mind can conceive. So on the flight back from Myrtle Beach to New York, I remember tugging on my ex-husband's arm and saying to him, I think I'm a Baba lover. And it was the first time that I'd used that term. So Meherbaba House, I don't have nearly as many pictures as access to as many pictures as I have. One of the things that happened, so I was going to speak today about some of the things that I've done as far as Baba work. So this is kind of where it starts. So I was totally excited, enamored, delighted, wanted to know more. I was in that enthusiastic young person, just finding Baba mode. You all remember that mode. And there was one meeting towards the fall of that year that we went to Myrtle Beach that the Meherbaba House group in New York announced that they had openings on their board. And it just struck me like lightning that I had to participate in some way. And I look back and I shake my head at my overzealousness. I immediately wanted to become the president and do 100 things. And so the very first board meeting I attend, I also proposed myself as president. The current president and I had spoken, and he said, yeah, I guess I am tired. Go ahead. And that very first meeting, I took the reins, and I was on fire. I was all excited and like, this is what we'll do, and this is what we'll do. And I put in so much time and energy. Like I say, this is not about glorifying me. I just was full of fire for Baba. And Meher Baba House had been run by individuals who had been doing it a certain way and, a little bit tired in certain directions. So, getting the word out to meetings and this sort of thing. And this is, remember, this is before email was even quite that big. And certainly before Facebook. Can you imagine a world without Facebook? It was before Facebook. So I pushed hard to get a newsletter that was nicely printed. I'd had some experience putting together newsletters because I was in a practice of my own. At that point, I was an acupuncturist. So when you're self-employed, you kind of have to learn all those different aspects of running a business. And a lot of it is, of course, marketing and promotion and all that stuff. So I was all on fire, and I wanted to do things a certain way with Meher Baba House. And so I egged them to allow me to organize a newsletter, and I did all this lovely placement, and every meeting I would take all these photos, and that would be part of the newsletter. And then there would be like little reports of what happened and what's to come. And I made it so that it was every 3 months, which also meant that we had to have a calendar ready for the next 3 months, which really pushed that board to be much more on top of their programming. So obviously I had help in organizing these events, but I really kind of brought all that like energy and like, you know, planning and all that aspect. After a while, all these speakers that we could get, because New York at that time it wasn't as active as it had been in its full heyday. In its full heyday, Meherbaba House had actually a full-time space. When I came on board, it was only a once a week rental that we were doing. So it was just one room in the Theosophical Society. And very sweet that we had that connection. There was a member of the Theosophical Society that was a Baba lover and actually was at the East-West gathering. So Alex Sprinkle. So he passed actually just last year, if I remember right. Anyway, we had a connection to the Theosophical Society as an organization, and so we were just a gypsy organization. You know, we had to store things in people's houses, but we would, from various corners, we would bring Baba Sadra to meetings, and just once a week we would get together. And because of that New York connection, a lot of people travel through New York and what have you. So we were able to get guests who were at that time very active, very, very interesting, a lot of great Baba speakers. I had one member of the board who could find their contacts, and she was so insistent, you know, the way she could just make it happen. And so she would arrange that at least once a month we would have a very special guest, and it was starting to feel like, wow, you know, this is so precious. So I invested in video equipment. So then once a week, you know, once a month, I was dragging video equipment with lights and microphone and all this stuff. So I was really getting so involved. I was whipping the calendar into shape on a deadline and doing this newsletter and taking photos of people at the meetings and then taking video and then making those videos available to people. And it was just, you know, the irony of it all. I was putting in enormous amounts of energy, but it couldn't last. And by about 3 years or so, the situation just sort of exploded. That's the word I use in my head. But anyway, there was concern on the part of the board that I was trying to make these videos available, and there was concern about how that was being done, and it ended up becoming this. When I look back, you know, I totally see their point of view. There was certain things that in my innocent enthusiasm I probably was quite excessive in certain directions. Anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. But right at that time, my marriage was also falling apart. One of the things that had happened was that our relationship was strained and not that healthy. And I was directing all my spare time to Meher Baba House instead of addressing the relationship and where are we going, what are we doing, and how is this not functional, and how to fix that. So the marriage just basically fell apart because I wasn't putting energy into it. And anyway, a long story. So I ended up in a little apartment on my own, and I'd been hearing about the Oklahoma 50th anniversary. And when the 53rd came about, I think it was 53, when the 53rd Oklahoma Sahabas, 53rd anniversary of the accident, Oklahoma Sahabas, was announced, in my head, I just said, have to go. I don't know how, why, what, but I just have to go. So they were creating a new center because they had just bought the Burleson house. And the energy around the Oklahoma group at that time was so exciting that I just had to join. And here I am. I'm in New York, but I've joined the board of a group that is based in Oklahoma. One of the things that we did was that every year we'd have a board retreat where we had to where we had to go to be on site, and we would call it a work retreat, and we would, I think I have some photos. We had to trim the overgrown bushes and keep up the yard clean. There were various members of our group who would come together, and some would deep clean and some would, and then we would have hours worth of board meeting that would basically be a very intensive, and then otherwise we met by phone. So the Oklahoma phase, I didn't mention the Northeast Gathering anyway. Like I say, this is a long story. With Meherbaba House, there was a connection to, there was a connection to the Northeast Gathering. And from the earliest time of my joining Meherbaba House, I got fascinated by the bookstore. And so I would organize the bookstore, and then while I was at it, I would make all these things by hand. So that was sort of an extension of fundraising slash bookstore endeavors, having something that people could take home with them from a gathering. So I started getting fascinated by what I could make. So I started with simple things, laminating Baba photos. Some of the side things that I've made are, having mugs made, and various things that I've made by hand, having stickers printed, and then making jewelry. That's one of the side things that I've gotten into as a result of having access to a bookstore to sell my stuff out of. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could go on and on about all sorts of things that I've kind of tried my hand at. I don't want to bore you all to death, but sorry, I think I had another folder. So this is Northeast Gathering. The Northeast Gathering would meet once a year. We'd have a special speaker guest and a special musician. So every year it was a different setup and all of that. We would rent a beautiful spot that had retreat facilities. And so I'm still involved with the Northeast Gathering. So that's some 15, 17 years, I don't even know. And that continues. So because of all of my Sahavas experience with the Northeast Gathering, here's my, do you want to see my jewelry? Okay, I'll just show it real quick. Since you're all muted, I get to do all the talking. So my emphasis is very much on whatever I can do to make a new technique apply to a Baba thing. Baba earrings, Baba necklaces, Baba bangles and bracelets. And so it's the most delightful thing to me, not to somehow be special in myself, but to see other people getting joy out of the things that I make. So I definitely don't show you these pictures in order to somehow say that I'm anything special. Anyone can do this. It's just been a little bit of a side hobby, so to speak. These are eyeglass holders. So all sorts of new ideas, trying things out. All right. Like I say, lots of photos. It's all unique, essentially one-of-a-kind pieces, because none of it is manufactured. It's all made by hand. All of these pendants are just metal pieces that are designed to take a photo or an insert, and then I put resin over it. This is resin directly with inclusions, and then these are different. This little project, this little project is what to do when BA is missing from your letter set. So how to make for creative ways to use his letters, use the letters to glorify Baba. This is also resin, just straight up resin in a mold. So there's no metal around it. And then hand stamping. So different ideas I've tried over time. Yeah, all one-of-a-kind pieces because they're all just made by hand. All right, so while I'm on the subject, I'm sorry if this is at all not quite what you were expecting to talk today. One of the things that I have done is create a Baba coloring book. Sorry, I need to, oh, there it is. Fit one full page, there we go. One of the things that I've done is create a coloring book, and I drew these mandalas, and then I put Baba in the middle, and now it's a Baba coloring book. What I've done with that, and I can show you a few other, examples, is then make for coloring groups. So these are Baba coloring pages that people have colored. So I brought that to the Northeast gathering, and then since then I've brought it to other gatherings as well. There's some in this room who've colored them themselves, so they know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's just delightful to me to create something that ends up being a collaboration. Someone in this room here today. So the other thing I would do is find new ways to make the same thing another finished product. So this is in a round, and then I took a round cutter and made these individually colored items into Baba buttons and bookmarks and yeah, fun things. So this is where I find my joy, is in these collaborations and these group efforts. I really enjoy bringing people together, as I think I've mentioned a few times. So, all right, moving on. So the Heartland Center, one of the things that I did for them is create a newsletter for them. I was no longer working on Meherbaba House newsletters at that time. As I mentioned, that kind of fell apart, but lo and behold, here I am back again doing the newsletter thing. One of our board members enjoyed taking photos, so we have a lot of photos, and I actually don't have the originals of all these photos. Like I say, I didn't find all my archived records, but this just gives an idea. That was my first second Heartland Center newsletter, full of photos and little articles. I didn't write all the articles, of course, but had help and coordination with that. Debbie Nordine was a partner in crime for that. And this was only once a year, thank goodness. Once every 3 months is a lot to put together all of this information. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with endless amounts of photos, but that gives you an idea. So I did that for 8 years. I think it was 8 years. And the board changed, the mission shifted, my life also changed. I was starting to get more involved in a new life with Cliff this time, and my parents were getting older, and I had a whole year where all I was dealing with was my dad's sudden death, my mom's health, and all these things started to happen around the time that I basically had to drop being on the Oklahoma Center board. So a few years go by, and I'm really undercover as far as Baba work, just doing little side things, participating in other people's projects, just sort of quietly, scanning books and various small things, obviously continuing to make Baba things and participating in the Northeast gathering. And and just sort of quietly doing my thing. And Cliff and I made the big move about almost 3 years ago, not quite 3 years ago, to move to Myrtle Beach. So we wanted to be close to the Meher Center. And at that time, the Circle Center, the Circle of Friends, had recently started a physical space. So they'd been an organization just sort of meeting in people's houses, sort of a gypsy organization that I know well, for some time, something like 10 years, before they made the big leap and they found a space to rent, and they started to create meetings that could be the interesting thing with the Circle of Friends has always been that the Meher Center is right across the street. So the Circle of Friends felt that they could complement, that's the word I'm looking for. They could complement the kinds of events that the Meher Center was sponsoring and putting on. And so what happens at the Circle Center is very much less formal, doesn't have to be doesn't have to fit within the very established guidelines for meetings that happen at the center. Could be spontaneous, could be a Baba lover with a very different thing to present. Typically, the Circle Center has been Baba lovers presenting, but technically it could be anybody who wants to present on anything, which is a very wide range. Baba has kind of seen to it that the Circle of Friends really is quite specifically Baba lovers and Baba friends who participate, bring their meeting ideas, all this sort of thing. So I was very undercover when I got to Myrtle Beach for a whole year with the whole transition and everything. I didn't want to get involved, but it felt like it was going to be a good fit. Well, the interesting thing is that the Circle of Friends board found me and they asked me to be on the board before I was quite ready. And based on asking around, they had decided that I could fill the spot as vice president to become the next president of the Circle of Friends within 3 to 5 months. It was not that long that I was. Oh no, actually, it was a little bit over a year, if I remember right now. Anyway, I get fuzzy on the details because there's so many dates that run through my head. So they all run together after a while. So anyway, so as you have seen, my habit is once I get into an organization, I start like, oh my God, I've got these ideas. And so when we had the physical space, some of my ideas were to, one of the things I love is when people share. You know, I already mentioned my great desire to hear Baba stories from regular folk, from us folk, you know. It doesn't have to be someone who's met Baba, you know, umpteen times and can tell you all the time that he's met Baba and all those detailed stories. Yes, those are fabulous, fabulous. But we're in an age where there has to be something else that brings us together to remember Baba, other than somebody telling us how it was for them and spending an hour talking to us and we're listening. You know, there's got to be other ways to meet. And one of the things that I was really excited about was somehow bringing together people to just share, to have circle sharing. It was actually an attribute of the Northeast Gathering that when the Northeast Gathering meets for a whole weekend, it's a Friday night, Saturday all day, Sunday half a day. The Southeast Gathering is actually an extra day from that. So that's exciting. The more days you spend together, the more that sahavas feeling really sinks in. I wanted to bring to the Myrtle Beach area some idea of sahavas. Ironically, there's a youth sahavas, and then when people would ask, well, what about us? Where's the sahavas for us? The answer would be, the stock answer would be, oh, every day is a sahavas for everyone at the Meher Center. But I really wanted that feeling of coming together, especially rather than coming and you're just an individual coming on retreat and good luck to you. if you're going to have a Sahavas experience, or if it's just going to be sort of going to the beach and eating your own dinners and having, a very individual event. I wanted this to definitely be Sahavas, like everyone made the appointment to come together. And so I tried to do these, what I called mini Sahavas. We have plenty of community in the area, and we have plenty of people who actually travel in and out of Myrtle Beach because they're here on pilgrimage to the Meher Center. I wanted to create Sahavas, where people actually spent hours together. And I would call it mini Sahavas because it was only an afternoon on a Saturday about once a month. I tried to do that for, I think, 6 or 7. And it started running out of steam for the winter. And then lo and behold, COVID happened this spring. So I was planning on starting up Sahavas planning again right around when COVID happened. So one of my long-term goals with the Circle of Friends was going to be to somehow include others in the fact that in Myrtle Beach, we do have a richness of participants. We have a richness of local community, and we have a richness of people who are traveling through. And, to build around those guests some sort of special, some sort of sorry, I'm losing my words, some sort of an outreach where the community, the Bob lover community at large, could somehow participate in some of that fun, excitement, and liveliness of having a very active Baba community here. One of the reasons we moved here, of course, is that there are a lot of Baba lovers here, and you can almost, if you're of the mind to, you can have a Baba meeting just about every day, just simply walking the beach, or sometimes meeting a Baba lover at Walmart, and then attending the Meher Center events, the Circle of Friends events, the people, some people have Baba events at their houses. They call it serenity meetings. Just generally people having a birthday party, 20 Baba lovers will come. So that daily interaction, the liveliness, the intensity of that, I wanted to somehow transmit that. And I was thinking down the road, we would get into, finding the right channel for a live stream of physical events at the Circle of Friends. So when COVID happened, immediately my thought, Baba put it in my head, that now is the good time to go completely virtual. We could actually create Baba meetings specifically designed to be virtual. And that's when all this started. The Zoom meetings literally started with the very first meeting was a special meeting about, let's talk about COVID and how you're feeling and what to do about it. I don't know, 20 people came. It wasn't highly popular, but people had just been starting to realize that these things are going to be happening. I didn't even realize how big it was going to be. But one of the things that the Circle of Friends was already established in was that there isn't this feeling that there's a center, and the center creates the meeting and everybody else listens or participates. The Circle of Friends, from the very beginning, already had the Meher Center across the street to be the center. What we were doing was much more open. Certainly, certain events could be generated from board members, but most of our meetings were actually generated from individuals, either a Jeff Overton, who was doing Effort and Grace already, or who was reading Effort and Grace together with a small group in person before the Zoom meetings. Or it was somebody who was, say, an expert in Byron Katie's The Work, and she would come and present, and we'd videotape that and all those things. So I took all the meeting ideas that we had for the Circle of Friends, and I started to apply it to the possibility of doing it on Zoom. So people who are already interested in doing, say, a weekly event at the Circle of Friends in person, now can we do it on Zoom? And hey, since it's on Zoom, someone who lives in Montana can be giving us a weekly workshop on the work. Byron Katie is the work and how it relates to meherbaba. Someone who's no longer able to meet in person at the Circle of Friends, Jeff Wolferton, can now do his Effort in Grace on Zoom. So I started to reach out to all sorts of people in all sorts of places, and we started to host events that the Circle of Friends itself may not have actually thought of or organized in the first place. Some of the meetings are generated as ideas that I cooked up between Baba and I. Baba puts ideas in my head in the morning, and then I try to finish it by the end of the day. This is how it works. So, for example, a group to just read God Speaks. I actually had wanted to create a reading group for God Speaks physically, but it's so much easier on Zoom because people can participate from anywhere. Now we're not limited to the 3 to 5 people who want to meet in person. Now we can have 20 people meet from all over the world, at this particular time. I thought that Mara Meher was another meeting that ought to be read aloud. The book ought to be read. After that, maybe Joy's Path, maybe all these other long books that are difficult to read in person, but if you had an appointment, So then I just started looking for someone who would be there at that time and host it like in the sense of holding the space. And then it grew from there. I started thinking we could do arti. I actually had this thought at one point that we could do physical arti at the Circle of Friends, but just think of how much work that would be. Everyone has to show up on time, and if they're late, do we start late? And someone has to open the door, and someone has to, be sure that all the coffee is made and all this stuff. Coffee's cleaned up afterwards. And so there's a lot of work to having a physical meeting, but we could do it on Zoom. And then there's this way to raise hand, and you can, raise hand and everyone can just share in a very timely, organized way. And they can share songs and poetry and reading, and they could even show artwork. It just struck me that this is so amazing. And one of the things that has then happened was that a community formed around Arti. We call it an Arti family because some of the same folks, it's a real core group who meet every day, twice a day for Arti. And we see each other so often that I feel like we're closer than my immediate neighbor across the street because I see you all so frequently. One of the things that has happened over the course of these months is that, one, we find a lot of comfort in each other's company because we're focusing on Baba, and we're able to bring all of our concerns, worries for others, our grieving for others, and loss and change, and joys as well, celebrating happy things. We can bring it to each other and then bring it to Baba in that same way. But then as the months have rolled on, Baba has infused it in such a way that I've had help getting the word out to Indians, and now we're doing collaborations east and west where I'll post to certain individuals and they put it out on WhatsApp, and next thing you know, we have all of these Indians who are coming to the Circle of Friends meeting, and some of them would say, oh, when I found your group, such and such, it's been so great. And I think to myself, my goodness, it isn't your group, it's our group. The Circle of Friends has just grown to include all of you. We're all friends. We're all the circle. And that's our intention with all of these Baba meetings that we're putting on, is that any of you, if you have a meeting idea, can host a meeting. We create a situation where we'll make that possible. If your technology is not 100%, we'll find a way to host it. If all you have is time and energy to put towards it. If you're perfectly comfortable with the tech, then maybe you can host Arti, and you could, there's just ways in which we can use all of our excitement and enthusiasm for coming together to remember Baba and combining our efforts. This is a real community-driven effort. This is not a top-down kind of structure. This is a ground-up concept, where any idea that could bring people together to remember Baba, we're all for it. We're so excited. So, gosh, I just realized how I'm just going on and on.
Okay. So thanks so much,
My
Angela.
goodness, I just
I
wouldn't
think
stop.
we will start our singing and stuff, because we have a lot of our elderly people in the group who may need to leave because it's already almost 9:15, their dinner time and stuff. So if anybody was left and you have WhatsApp messages on the group, please ask them to come back. Thank you. Thank you so much, Angela, for this great sharing. And I think so many of us share this enthusiasm, and I could relate to a lot of things that you said, because that's the fire that kept bubbling in me when I joined. I'm just a little infant compared to your entire story and compared to many over here. But I think all of us, at some intensity, the fire is burning. And that's what is important, I guess. So, with that fire going, let's begin the songs. First hand, we have Tushar Bhai. Are you there? I will unmute. Okay, we have Marukanti who is ready. So, Marukanti will begin the singing today.
जय बाबा जय बाबा। तूने मुझे बाबा बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे भगवान बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। ना मिलती अगर भी कोई बात तेरी, जमाने में क्या थी औकात मेरी। ना मिलती अगर भी कोई बात तेरी, जमाने में क्या थी औकात मेरी। मुझे तूने जीने के काबिल किया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे बाबा बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे भगवान बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। दिया कुछ नहीं है, शर्मदार हूँ मैं, तेरी रहमतों का तरफदार हूँ मैं। दिया कुछ नहीं है, शर्मदार हूँ मैं, तेरी रहमतों का तलबगार हूँ मैं। दिया कुछ नहीं है, लिया ही लिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे बाबा बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तेरी रहमतों का इशारा न होता तो दुनिया में मेरा खुदारा न होता। तेरी रहमतों का इशारा न होता तो दुनिया में मेरा खुदारा न होता। उसे क्या कमी थी जो तेरा हो गया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे बाबा बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। तूने मुझे भगवन बहुत कुछ दिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है, तेरा शुक्रिया है। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
Jai Baba. Thank you so much. We have Tushar Bhai now. So I will just unmute.
Jai Baba.
Tushar Bhai is a professional duff player. He's also a teacher to many of us to play this beautiful instrument. And coincidentally, Angela, apparently in Jan 2019, while he was at Myrtle Beach with Simin, you also had a wonderful dance on his duff playing in the kitchen area, apparently. We shared the video just about 2 Saturdays back, and he just remembered and shared that it was you dancing with Simin. So here's Tushar Bhai for all of us.
I don't doubt it at all.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know whether you'll remember, but I still remember you sitting and dancing first, and then you got up at the end. And I think somebody was playing djembe also next to me. Somebody from Myrtle Beach. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And we had a real best of the time. Yeah, exactly. So I hope you will release today also again. And initially, of course, maybe Hindi bhajan you may understand, follow our language, but I'll land it by saying with English also. So you'll get the gist of the bhajan. Okay, thank you. मुझको ज़मीन आसमां मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए। मुझको ज़मीन आसमां मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए। कितना बेरुखा था जीवन, इतनी बेबसी, रूठ ही गई थी मुझसे सबकी हर खुशी। कितना बेरुखा था जीवन, इतनी बेबसी, रूठ ही गई थी मुझसे कब की हर खुशी। मेहर हो गया, मेहरबान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए। मेहर हो गया, मेहरबान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए। हर जन्म में ज्ञान अधूरा छोड़ आए हैं, बंद जैसे ज्ञान के हम मोड़ आए हैं। हर जन्म में ज्ञान अधूरा छोड़ आए हैं, बंद जैसे ज्ञान के हम मोड़ आए हैं। बाबा में ही गीता कुरान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए, बाबा में ही गीता कुरान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए, मुझको जमीन आसमां मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए, बाबा क्या मिले, भगवान मिल गए. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is like an ocean, like an ocean. I'll rock you while you're sleeping, while you're sleeping. On a wave of sweet emotion, sweet emotion. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is like an ocean, like an ocean. I'll rock you while you're sleeping, while you're sleeping. On a wave of sweet emotion, sweet emotion. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is very strong, very strong. Whenever you feel lonely, you feel lonely. I carry you along, I carry you along. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is very strong, very strong. Whenever you feel lonely, you feel lonely. I carry you along, I carry you along. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is everywhere, everywhere. Whenever you may wander, you may wander. Just know that I am there, I am there. Your home is in my heart, in my heart. My heart is everywhere, everywhere. Whenever you may wander, you may wander. Just know that Baba there, Baba there. Just know that Baba there, Baba there. Visam Vande Paramanandam Vandeham, Visam Vande Paramanandam Vande, Visam Vande Paramanandam Vandeham, Visam Vande Paramanandam Vande Paramanandam Vande Paramanandam Vande Paramanandam Vande. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. I hope you enjoyed. I thought Angela will get up and dance again here, which we saw in the video. But on the lighter note, I would like to say that you are nowhere connected with Bruce Lee of Kung Fu, and you are nowhere connected in Jackie Chan also from any of the movies here, because you have both the names Angela Lee and Angela Chen. Anyway, nice to see you again after a long, long time.
Jai Meher Baba.
Blood relation, we're so tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba. Geeta, did you want to sing or share something? Geeta has put up the hand, raised the hand. Okay. All right. I will sing till somebody else raises the hand. And this song is written by Meher Baba under the pen name of Huma, and it is one of my most favorite songs. Jai Baba. I will try best. I'm not 0.1% good as Tushar Bhai, but whatever little. लिखन पढ़न से नयारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से नयारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। फिरक में भी विशाल होना, फिरक में भी विशाल होना, जवाब में भी सवाल होना, जवाब में भी सवाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। किसी को इज्जत, किसी को दिलबर, किसी को इज्जत, किसी को दिलबर, किसी को कारुण कमाल होना। किसी को हशमत, किसी को अजमत, किसी को हशमत, किसी को अजमत, किसी को हुस्नो जमाल होना। किसी को हशमत, किसी को अजमत, किसी को हशमत, किसी को अजमत, किसी को हुस्नो जमाल होना, किसी को हुस्नो जमाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। किसी को बातें खुदा शिनासी, किसी को जाहिर कमाल होना। किसी को बातें खुदा शिनासी, किसी को जाहिर कमाल होना। किसी को ख्वाहिश हराम की है, किसी को ख्वाहिश हराम की है, किसी को सब कुछ हलाल होना। किसी को ख्वाहिश हराम की है, किसी को ख्वाहिश हराम की है, किसी को सब कुछ हलाल होना, किसी को सब कुछ हलाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। किसी को जंगल की आरज़ू है, किसी को फैशन की चाल होना। किसी को जंगल की आरज़ू है, किसी को फैशन की चाल होना। किसी को बिरयानी मुर्गी कोरमा, किसी को बिरयानी मुर्गी कोरमा, किसी को भाजी या दाल होना। किसी को बिरयानी मुर्गी कोरमा, किसी को बिरयानी मुर्गी कोरमा, किसी को भाजी या दाल होना, किसी को भाजी या दाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से न यारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। किसी को यज़दान के डर की मिट्टी, किसी को याकुत ओ लाल होना, किसी को यजदान के डर की मिट्टी, किसी को याकुत ओ लाल होना। मेहर को कहता है खाकी हूँ माँ, मेहर को कहता है खाकी हूँ माँ, हमें तो रब्बुल जलाल होना। मेहर को कहता है खाकी हूँ माँ, मेहर को कहता है खाकी हूँ माँ, हमें तो रब्बुल जलाल होना, हमें तो रब्बुल जलाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से नयारबाजी, लिखन पढ़न से नयारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। फिरक में भी विशाल होना, फिरक में भी विशाल होना, जवाब में भी सवाल होना, जवाब में भी सवाल होना। लिखन पढ़न से नयारबाजी, सनम का हरदम ख्याल होना। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। Okay, so we have Meher Daruwala who wants to share something. Yes, Meher, please carry on. Okay, where is Meher? Disappeared? Okay, I think Meher is gone. Tushar bhai, you wanted to sing again, so I'll unmute you.
Thank you. कौन कहते हैं बाबा आते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा आते नहीं, तुम मेहर के जैसे बुलाते नहीं, हम मेहर के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं बाबा आते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा आते नहीं, तेरे शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं, तेरे शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं बाबा सुनते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा सुनते नहीं, दोस्त अर्जुन के जैसे सुनाते नहीं, भक्त अर्जुन के जैसे सुनाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, अच्युतम केशवम कृष्णदामोदरम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं बाबा रोते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा रोते नहीं, दो सुदामा के जैसे रुलाते नहीं, दो सुदामा के जैसे रुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम दामोदरम, अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं। कौन कहते हैं बाबा नाचते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं बाबा नाचते नहीं, एंजला की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं, एंजला की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं। नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो, नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो, तुम बाबा का नाम बुलाते चलो, तुम बाबा का नाम लेते चलो। याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, बाबा दर्शन तो देंगे कभी ना कभी, बाबा दर्शन तो देंगे कभी ना कभी। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभं। याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, बाबा दर्शन तो देंगे कभी और यही, बाबा दर्शन तो देंगे कभी और यही। गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद हरि बोलो गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो, राधा रमण हरि गोपाल बोलो। हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। अच्युतं केशवं रामनारायणं कृष्ण दामोदरं वासुदेवं भजे। अच्युतं केशवं रामनारायणं कृष्ण दामोदरं वासुदेवं भजे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। बोलो जय श्री राम, जय बाबा।
Avatar
Thank you
Meher
for the Baba ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Angela. I hope you dance well. Thank you so much.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. That was wonderful. Okay, we have Sita who wants to sing. Sita, I'm unmuting you.
जय बाबा। कैन यू हियर मी रोशनी?
Yes.
ओके, जय बाबा। है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, ऐसे हो हमारे करम, नेकी पर चले हर बदी से टले, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम। है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, ये अंधेरा घना छा रहा, तेरा इंसान घबरा रहा, ये अंधेरा घना छा रहा, तेरा इंसान घबरा रहा, हो रहा बेखबर कुछ न आता नजर, सुख का सूरज छुपा जा रहा, है तेरी रोशनी में जो दम, तू अमावस को कर दे पूनम, नेकी पर चले और बदी से टले, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम, है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, जब जुल्मों का हो सामना, तब तू ही हमें थामना, जब जुल्मों का हो सामना, जब तू ही हमें थामना, वो बुराई करे हम भलाई भरे, नहीं बदले की हो कामना, बढ़ उठे प्यार का हर कदम, और मिटे बैर का ये भरम, नेकी पर चले और बदी से टले, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम, है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, बड़ा कमजोर है आदमी, अभी लाखों है इसमें कमी, बड़ा कमजोर है आदमी, अभी लाखों है इसमें कमी, पर तू जो खड़ा है दयालु बड़ा, तेरी कृपा से धरती थमी, दिया तूने हमें जब जन्म, तू ही झेलेगा हम सबके गम, नेकी पर चले और बदी से टले, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम, है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम, है बाबा तेरे बंदे हम। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
Jai Baba. Thank you. Thank you, Sita.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Khilnani, Raj Khilnani would like to share something. Raj uncle, I'm unmuting you.
Hello.
Yes.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Baba.
Do you want me to share a little Baba story?
Yes, please.
So this story is okay. This. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. So this story is I don't remember the year, but this is in the decade of the 60s. We were once sitting before Baba. As far as I can recall, this is in either it is Meherazad or Guru Prasad, one of the two. So we are sitting before Baba in one of the intimate get-togethers, and then Baba tells my father, who was a judge, he tells him, my father's name was Prem, and Baba tells him, Prem, you sing a song for me. Sing. Obviously, it's devotional singing, generally that happened. And my father says, he feels embarrassed. And he says, Baba, I cannot sing. I have never sung. But my wife, that is my mother, Girja, she always reads Guru Granth. You know, Guru Granth is the sacred scripture of the Punjabis, the Sikh people. And there are, most of it is like, it can be recited, it can be sung. So he says, since she recites that Guru Granth scripture, I'm sure she can sing some poetry for you from the Guru Granth. So Baba was happy about this suggestion, and Baba tells my mother, would you like to sing? And then with the encouragement of my father, my mother sings a poetry that was written by Guru Nanak. It's a very famous poetry, and it figures in the Guru Granth. I don't know, you may not have heard it, I don't know. It says, Tum Thakur, tum Payyar Das, Tum Thakur, tum Payyar Das, Jiya Pind Sab Teri Aas, Tum Mat Pita, Hum Balak Tere, Tumri Kirpa Me Suk Gane. कोई न जाने तुमरा अंत नानक दास सदा कुर्बान. I'm not singing the whole thing. I don't remember the whole poetry. But in the end, like every poet puts his own name there. So Guru Nanak is in the end putting his name and saying, Nanak Das Sada Kurbani. That is the last line of that poem. And when my mother said this last line, my father, who was excited before Baba, he's telling his wife, my mother, that now that you are singing in front of meherbaba, instead of Guru Nanak, you put the name of meherbaba.
Okay,
that is what my father suggested to my mother, his wife. And Erech interpreted what Baba said. Baba told my father, just repeat again, what did you tell her to do? So my father thought that Baba was happy with the suggestion, and he says, Baba, she should be taking your name in place of Guru Nanak's name in that poetry. And then Baba says that in that last line, Baba says, Nanak Das Sada Kurbani. Nanak is saying that he is the Das, he is the slave of the Lord, and he is always grateful to the Lord. That is what Guru Nanak is telling in that last line of the poem. And Baba says that when Guru Nanak says, I am the slave of the Lord, Guru Nanak is telling that he is my slave, means meherbaba's slave, God's slave. And I am that Lord whose slave he is referring himself to. So it would be very absurd and it would be funny to put my name there in that particular line in Guru Nanak's poetry. You know, I hope you get that, you get the point that Baba was driving at. It's a very powerful story. I think that's a little story I thought I could share today. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you so much, Raj Uncle. Geeta ji has raised hand. Geeta, do you want to share something? Geeta? Okay. So I think we will move towards the end of our wonderful satsang today. Before we get into our last song, followed by the Meher Dhun Aarti and 1 minute of silence, I shall share a few things about our satsang from next Saturday. I'll just... okay. Sorry. So from next Saturday onwards, our satsangs of the Constant Companion group actually was a homely satsang started in 2013, whereby we met one Saturday every month in my house. And from 2 and 3 people, which were my friends, we gathered to almost at times 60 people in the house as well on certain occasions. And then since March, when the lockdown started, we started doing online sessions, which went into trying to do once alternate Saturday. And then from April onwards, since it was extending, we said, let's do it every Saturday so that we can just, have that little focused time with Baba. And as much as we can, submerge ourselves in Baba's love together would be great. And similarly, as Angela, a kindred soul, I think. So it began with this, passion of bringing Baba lovers together, listening to everybody's stories, and we would have guests, even personally. So we have had Gadekarji, we have had Ali Ramju, we have had Pratap Ahirji, we had Manik Ubaleji, we have had our Raj uncle and Vinod uncle who have shared, and several others who had come as guests at home. And now we extended it to our online platform, which is a much bigger platform. So now with Baba's grace, what we are doing is we are merging the Constant Companion group with the Circle of Friends group. And our Saturday satsangs are going to be now the Saturday Sahavas with the Aarti. So from next Saturday onwards, our satsang will be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. India time. And we will begin with the prayers and Aarti, just like the Circle of Friends does every day, morning and evening. So as per the Samadhi time, we will do Aarti and prayers together. And then we will get into our guest speaker for that day and songs and sharings from all of us together. So it would be a similar format, but the timing would be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So please keep yourselves ready for this change. And just like today, everyone who wants to sing or share would give the raise hand icon, and we will have a beautiful, smooth flow of sharings in the satsang. And I would like to thank all of you. Thank Baba for this, taking it a notch higher every time, so that we can reach more and more Baba lovers, and thereby bring in more and more, beads on his string and necklace of love. So thank you, Angela, for this as well. And we will begin our sweet ending today with Angela leading Ustad Dhanyavad, followed by the recording of the Dhun after that, and Aarti, the Australian Aarti, which you all can do at your end while we will play it from here, and followed by 1 minute of silence. So thank you so much for listening on. And here goes Angela for us once again. Ustad, Dhanyavad for everything.
Ustad Dhanyavad. Yes, I'm so delighted. We're merging forces. We're marrying our two programs together perfectly seamlessly. So every day, the Circle of Friends hosts Aarti at IST, in Meherbaba time, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we normally have Aarti at 7 o'clock on a Saturday anyway. So now we're going to combine our two forces, and our groups will truly be East and West. It's so exciting. So I hope that you'll come. And it will be recorded as well. So Ustad Dhanyavad, 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 Ustad Dhanyavad. Oh meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher. Oh meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher. Hurama Dhanyavad, Hurama Dhanyavad, Hurama Dhanyavad, Hurama Dhanyavad. Zatosh Dhanyavad, Zatosh Dhanyavad, Zatosh Dhanyavad, Zatosh Dhanyavad. Oh meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher. Oh meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher, Dhanyavad meher. Rama Dhanyavad, Rama Dhanyavad, Rama Dhanyavad, Rama Dhanyavad. Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad,
Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. We will now play the Meher Dhun, after which we'll play the Australian Aarti, followed by 1 minute of silence.
Baba, Meher 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 Baba. Meher Baba, 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 Meher Baba.
O glorious eternal ancient one, your face is a bright transcendental sun. Lighten this dark world and the tears I weep. My heart, meher, I give to you to keep. Creator, yet creationless you are. Truth and truth's body, divine avatar. Who through compassion the three worlds maintains. Destroy this ignorance that life sustains. These five lights are the whirling spokes of prayer, of the world wheel that bears me on to death. Unless you who are infinitely kind breaks the wheels of which is conditioned mind. This incense is smell of these fruits my art, which to please you I have shaped from my heart. Accept them as you would a simple flower that has no use beyond its shining hour. You are myself, I sing to you in praise, and beg your love to bear me through the days, till you, the ever-living perfect one, illume my darkness with your shining sun. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. We'll have 1 minute of silence. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. May Baba be Nigaban upon all of us and Baba's nazar be upon the whole world. May we hold on to his daman till the very end. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Lovely.
Meher Baba
A
ki
very
jai.
nice
Avar
Roshni.
Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Thank you, Roshana. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Lovely meeting.
Thank you.